So every day in Japan, every day in Tokyo, I had to take the train because that's the way you get around in Tokyo. Tokyo has the most marvelous train system in the world. It has subways, it has trains, it has bullet trains, Shinkansen. But it's all very confusing because in 1988, they really didn't have English signs. If you go to Japan now, 2021, they have a lot of English signs. They have English announcements. But at that time in 1988, they didn't. But because I'm a very smart guy, when I took the train every day, I tried to get on the same door, the same part of the train, at the front of the train. And I thought I would arrive at the same place when I got to the big station called Shinjuku. But that didn't happen because every train went to a different track. Every day it went to track number 1 or track number 7 or track number 10. So every day I was lost. Every time I got out of the train, it was a different place. Sometimes the train even went inside the department store, inside the shopping center, and stopped. That was the last stop. So I got out inside a store. I was completely lost. But little by little, I found my way. Okay. Next slide, Luanda. When I first arrived in Japan, I told you I lived in a gaijin house, which had a shower. But for about 1 month before I moved to the gaijin house, I stayed in another gaijin house with no shower. So I had to go to the public bath. On the small street where I lived for 1 month, there was a public bath. Every Japanese goes there at night, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. They pay $1. The men go to one side and take a bath together. And the women go to the other side and take a bath together. So the first thing as a foreigner you need to learn is you have a shower on the side. You need to use the soap on the side under the shower. You cannot get in the bath covered with soap. You have to wash all the soap off in the shower, which is on the side. Then you can get in the hot tub and sit and soak and relax. And of course, I was only one foreigner surrounded by 100% or 99% Japanese. So they all looked at me. Of course, I looked at them. But in the end, that's part of life, right? You need to get clean. But I remember one time I was in one hot tub and I went to the second hot tub, which was very, very hot. And my Japanese friend told me, if you go to the very, very hot tub, the secret is don't move. When you sit in the tub, you need to be completely still. And then you don't get burned. If you start moving around, it feels hotter. So every night I went to the public bath. I paid $1 to take a bath. And usually I went a little bit later, like 8 o'clock. I think it closed at 9. And there were fewer people. So fewer people were looking at me, trying to examine my foreign body. But one time, I remember I was there. I was all alone in the bath. It was so nice and relaxing after I worked all day as a teacher. And I saw one guy like coming through the fog. He was approaching me. Oh, we lost the presentation. Uh, anyway, I saw that he had many tattoos. And I saw that in the end, he was a Japanese mafia, Yakuza. But he didn't say anything to me. He just smiled and looked at me and continued his bath. And I got out of the bath very quickly and put on my clothes and went home. But I was safe. Japan is probably the safest country that I ever lived in. So this is a little bit different. Here you can see a picture of me on the right with my Japanese girlfriend on the left. No, just kidding. But in Japan, they have a public bath. If you go to a resort city in the mountains of Japan, you can go to what is called an onsen, which is an outdoor bath. And sometimes they have monkeys. Sometimes they have some strange animals, but they're usually in a different bath. So there's one bath for women, another bath for men, and sometimes a third bath for the snow monkeys in the north part of Japan. But it's all a different experience. You can go to the next slide, please. I'm going to finish soon, so thank you for your patience. But when I arrived in Japan, 1988, I told you, I never used a computer in my life before that. So this is a different era, a different epoch. I learned how to use a desktop computer for the first time in Japan. And at that time, we used a floppy disk. You had to put a floppy disk in the side of the computer all of you guys who were born in 2000, right, or 1995, you don't have any idea about this, but it was a difficult situation, right?
Disquete. It's called
Disquete,
disquete in
yeah.
Portuguese.
And when I got the job working at this Japanese American company, my boss was a Japanese American man. He was not very old, only 40 years old. So he was a young guy. He really helped me a lot. He explained everything because he was born in the United States, but his parents were Japanese. So he could speak English fluently. He was an American, and he could speak Japanese fluently because he lived in Japan for 20 years. So the first thing he asked me was, Will, can you type well? Digitar, right? Can you type well? And I said, no, I don't type very well, but I type very fast, but I make a lot of mistakes. Because when I was in my high school typing class, I remember I had one test where you have to type as fast as you can. I typed to 60 words in 1 minute. And then the teacher said, okay, now subtract all the words that have mistakes, and that's your score. So I looked, all 60 words that I typed had at least one mistake. So I had a 60 minus 60. My final score was 0 in my typing class. But okay, so anyway, I could type. My boss said, okay, your first job, we don't have any classes now because it's the beginning of the year. Remember, this is January 1989. He said, I want you to watch a movie. It's a 2-hour movie in English, and you need to type the dialogue, and we're going to deliver this to a Japanese client. So I remember I was watching the movie. I wrote on a piece of paper all the dialogue, and then I typed in the computer. I typed for about 30 minutes, at least 20 pages. And then suddenly the computer shut down, the computer crashed. And I said, excuse me, boss, how do I find this document that I was typing? I typed about 30 pages. Did you save? No, I didn't save. Well, how do you save? He said, sorry, that document is gone. You need to do it again. What? At that
Oh
at that time, you
no.
needed to save everything manually. It was not automatic. So that was another experience that I had learning how to use a computer. Okay, next slide, please. But after 2 or 3 years, I started to make more money as a teacher. I started to be more successful, and my boss started to send me to different cities to teach special groups of business people. So I went to Osaka, I went to Kyoto, I went to Nagoya by train, by bullet train, and
So you
my
you
life.
started getting lost nationwide.
That is right, Luanda. How did you guess? I started to get lost in the country, not just the city.